I'd like to invite you to come and utilize the amphitheatre at the Arts Village. We're making some efforts. We're making some efforts to bring the Arts Village alive, and I can tell you that most of the NAFest this year will happen at the Arts Village, and we expect to have a lot of performances there. We're also going to be putting it onto DSTV and expanding NAFest as much as possible. If our good friends at the FCT give us the support that we're asking for, then we hope to also have a couple of major opening and closing concerts at the Abuja National Stadium. But the true thing is this, is that, it's time for Nigeria to invest into Nigerians. And investing into Nigerians, you can't do it in a better way than in arts and culture, because arts and culture is the expression, the intellectual expression, the IP of the average Nigerian. Now, most Nigerians are born with this innate talent. It's interesting because if you look at a country like South Korea, which, how many fans of K-pop are here? There's some young girls who are fans of K-pop. Yeah, I can see some people. Even the old man in front is he's a fan as well. So K-pop and K-drama. And I said to a Korean friend of mine, it's interesting because K-pop to me is almost like institutionalizing black boy bands of the 80s, the New Edition, and some of their counterparts like the Backstreet Boys who came in the 90s, and sort of turning this into a process and a drill and a boot camp that has now created bands like BTS and all these bands who are actually totally revolutionizing the way the music business is operating. And a lot of us are watching South Korea. I can tell you for free, my council has authority for the music industry, for theatre, for dance. We're watching what they're doing closely because we're going to mirror some of the things they're doing. I think that you will find that we have more natural talent here, but we do not have the same level of investment, the same level of infrastructure, and the same level of resources. But what I can tell you is, I've only been in government for a few months, but I can tell you that we have done a lot of work, and there's a lot of work coming, especially in terms of, there's an Abuja Creative City, which is being worked on with the FCDA. That alone is an immense project, and my location at the Arts Village, we're actually about to move on to site. We have a 3,500 capacity venue that is being built on the site, which will also be available for theatre and live performance. It's a music venue as well. But we're also investing in and operating with partners in the private sector, looking to build digital platforms. Because as much as you need physical infrastructure, you need digital platforms as well, to enable you to expand what you're doing, to monetize what you're doing, and to get into product and merchandise. Nigeria has well over 15,000 festivals, but what we need to do is to upgrade our festivals, produce them at a level where we're doing the storytelling, so it's not just coverage. And when we do that, I mean, you might be shocked to know, you may not know, the Shango Festival that was recently accredited by UNESCO in November, the truth of the matter is that the Brazilians had actually applied for the same festival, and it was going to be accredited to Brazil. And it is because the Brazilians recognize the culture, they invest in it. The Shango Festival in Bahia has over 100,000 people. They spend millions of dollars a year. I went to Oyo for the Shango Festival here. We don't spend enough, we don't pay attention enough, and we're not invested enough. And because of that, I always say, what's the difference between Thor and Shango? And Nigerians say it's packaging. I say, well, it's about $25 billion. It's much more than packaging. So what I'm telling you is that in the indigenous culture of Nigeria, in the mythology of Nigeria, in the gods of Nigeria, Northwest, East, and South, we have the stories that can connect the world. We have the content that could rule new platforms and digital platforms in gaming, esports, film, and television. And for those of you who are dreamers, that is where I would focus my dreams, because in the coming times ahead, I think you will find that Nigerian concept will not just be the Afrobeats, and which drives fashion and culture and everything else, but it will get into these other platforms, and these platforms are monetizing at an enormous, enormous rate. I just wanted to touch base here and say we support what you're doing. We hope that we can do some more work together. Theatre, I think, is fundamental, because you don't necessarily need facilities. If you have a good writer and you literally have space under the tree, you can actually perform. But with all that said and done, it's also good to have world-class facilities where you can protect and project what you're doing at a level that you can monetize it. And the younger people who are coming through can see pathways through which they can do this professionally, they can do this for a long time, and also make sure that academia are also involved in this process. I think that there's been a long gap between government and the sector. I'm blessed to come from this sector, so there are no gaps, there are not going to be any gaps. We are open, we're available, so please. We don't have all the answers, by the way, we don't pretend to. What we're trying to do, especially in every single sector, is we're putting together roadmaps for all of these sectors. But once we put together the roadmap, we're going to share it to industry leaders. And once we share it to industry leaders, then we're going to have a co-creation session where you can say, okay, it's a blank piece of paper. What would you like to see? What do you want to see happen? How can we affect and impact your space? Because dance is different from theater, live music is different from variety, variety is different from production, technical production. The people behind the scenes are almost more important than the people on stage, because if you don't sort them out, you're not going to have a good show. And we need to understand the dignity of labor in these industries, because most people in these industries work behind the scenes. They're not the ones on stage, they're not the ones on TV, but without them, there's no show, there's no video, there's nothing. So please respect the intellectuals, respect the players, respect the actors and the actresses, the producers and the directors, because they are the ones that tell the stories. And where we are in Nigeria today, we need to be a nation of storytellers, okay? The best story wins. I didn't say it, but it's true. The best story wins, and the narrative of the world has been framed for the last 500 years by other people about us. It is time that we owned our narrative. It is time that we project our own stories, because guess what? Our stories came first. They came before Egypt, they came before Greece, they came before Rome, and our culture comes first as well. Now when you take the stories and the culture and you bring it together, then you look at the Orisha of the Yoruba. Every time I see the Orisha, what I think about is the X-Men from Marvel. Because the X-Men from Marvel have done almost $50 billion, and the Orisha are still semi-abandoned somewhere in the Southwest. So we need to unlock our minds and look at the treasure that we are sitting on. The treasure in Nigeria is not the gold or the oil. The treasure is the people and the stories they carry within them. And once you learn how to bring those stories out, you will find that there is nothing that you cannot do. Thank you very much. Best of luck.